Going live. Hi, everybody. See, I don't know why when the stream starts, I just revert to doing weird voices and bad accents that should be on the Muppets. But there we are. You are sitting in the Patreon Hangout discussion of Reunion. Today we are talking about the Angel episode Reunion. It's season 2, episode 10. This is a big point. This is a big marker, and it's one that has been keeping me up at nights for a couple of months now. But here we are. The day is upon us. We've hit the point where I am in producing videos for the channel. Is it just spinning for you?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I stop the stream and start... Oh. It may have just uncorked there. I think so. Can anyone confirm? Stream back for you if you refresh? Okay, stream's back. Sorry, go ahead. I believe you were on streams are fully spoiled.
Yeah, stream is fully spoiled. Everybody who is in the chat, in the discussion, has seen everything. So, yeah. Second rule, be nice. Or if you can't be nice, at least be polite. So no being mean to anyone, including Ian. Third rule is no thirst unless there's consent. Jack generally gives consent for us all to flirt with him. If nobody else gives consent, then none of that. And the last one is kind of wishy-washy, but we try to keep these discussions moving, and sometimes it goes into dark subject matter. And so the chat can, veer off in different directions. And Jack and I, if things go totally off course or getting uncomfortable, Jack and I will try and nudge you back. Please listen to us. If you don't listen to the nudge, we will do more than nudging. And you could get banned.
Sweet. All right, so let's see. I'm going to change up the on-stream arrangement here slightly because I'm just tired of fighting with the Google Meet layout. So, a little inside baseball. I apologize. I'm going to put myself over there. I love being an elf on everyone's shoulder. It's kind of my favorite thing. Yeah, we'll ban you. Hi. Sorry, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you doing?
It's been a long month. Needless to say. So we're talking about Reunion. And I think you went last for. I mean, I know you went last for. Man, yes. Help me, brain, not a thing. Now words.
Reunion, yes.
Reunion, yes. So this is kind of the climactic point that we've been building to all of first season. How do it do?
I really love this one. I think it's extremely well made. A lot of this season is kind of hit or miss, and when they hit, it's brilliant, and when they miss, it's kind of meh. And that's
I think even the lows of this season don't get as low as some. I mean, like season 2, even the bad stuff is not horrendous. What's the worst? The Frozen in Time having sex with his girlfriend episode. All right, that one is terrible.
Yeah, that one is offensive. Like,
so we can say outlier, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sympathy for the Incel is a very bad episode.
Yeah, the empathy for that guy. But other than that episode, I feel like thin red line, blue line.
Yeah,
thin deadline.
Trying something.
Yeah, it has ideas.
Yeah.
Anyway, reunion. Tell me about this one. Where does it land for you?
Yeah, so I think this is probably one of the best episodes of Angel. Um, Not necessarily favorite, but best in terms of like the production, the writing. It's hitting on all cylinders. And I there were some things I noticed in this rewatch. Bunch of costume stuff.
Okay.
So we've got a real emphasis. The three colors in this episode are red, white, and black.
So red for Drew quite a bit, white for Darla, and black for Angel?
Well,
Or do
Darla
they rotate?
from white to black.
Oh, okay.
And also, like a lot of the suited men are in dark colors as well,
Yeah.
which sort of frames all the others. And I particularly Darla's dress is interesting. The sort of shroud dress, which reminds me very much of Buffy's Prophecy Girl
Oh, that's interesting.
dress when she
Yeah.
died, and her makeup and everything is very Buffy. Her look is extremely Buffy. Both the white look and the black look, and the black and gold pants look is very.
Yeah, I was
because
very
her
reminded
makeup
of
is Buffy.
it was very Bad Girls when the two of them wander in at the end. I mean, Drew looks uniquely Drew, but I think Darla is evocative of maybe Faith and Buffy in that episode. Definitely,
And
yeah,
season 5.
evocative. Yeah.
Yeah. And Drew's dress is this wonderful red, blood red, and the lace looks almost like capillaries or something, and the choker looks It looks so much like the slash marks from when she killed Kendra. Like it looks like a slash across the throat.
Huh.
So the color work is impressive, and of course they also talk about red a lot, and they're going to a wine tasting where they're tasting red wine. So yeah, there is a whole and the painting the town red, and the fact that it's red clothes that they're putting on in the shop. So like red is very much about vitality, but also like I was thinking about images of the womb.
Birth.
Because we're talking so much about motherhood and babies and nursery and all of these images, which of course is all feeding into there is going to be a baby.
Yeah. So, interesting question then. How much of that do you think was already on the burner at this point? I mean, was Connor an idea in David Greenwald or Tim Minear's mind at this point?
I think perhaps the germ of the idea was.
Yeah.
I wish it had. I wish Tim had maybe guided more of the,
Yeah.
The shepherding of that germ into something that was not what it was.
Yeah.
But
Well, I mean, I asked the question that I tend to suggest doesn't matter, which is kind of intent versus finished product. And in the finished product, certainly that foreshadowing is there.
Yeah.
But it's always a curiosity of whether or not at this point, Jasmine, it blooms at night, which is the only line that cut seems to be there for, was intended to mean something as far down as the split season at the end of season 4.
Or they picked it up later and thought Jasmine. But the parental stuff in this episode, the fact that Drew constantly calls Drusilla or calls Darla almost always, mommy, baby, your grandma.
Yeah. Well, and we've already had the mention of Holtz, who is a key for that part of the storyline. So who knows? It's strange. The question of intent for me in Angel feels curiously more relevant than it does in Buffy. And I think it's because the seasons in Buffy are a little more self-contained. I mean, the characters recognize their growth year over year, but one story ends and another one begins and so forth. Where Angel has, I mean, when we get to Skip standing in the circle talking about what evil charisma has been setting up the entire series, you
Mhm.
know, there's an implication that there was intent. And I think that the retcon, if it's a retcon, that Skip explains in that sequence really kind of throws the idea of intent into being a little bit more than just a curiosity for this show
Yeah.
than say Buffy, where I think I'm kind of gay, you know. Was that line as intended to be as much foreshadowing as not? Where I think looking at that show, we can kind of go, it's less relevant. But with this series, because of where it goes, you know, I think it's more of a curiosity because I'm looking to look at that scene with Skip as less of a retcon and more as they set it all up.
I think maybe we could call that a redefinition.
I see what you did there.
They don't change any of the events; they change the meaning of the events.
Yeah, you're talking about Skip.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But why does a moment land? First of all, is retcon? I'm. By the way, I'm hijacking your point here, so I apologize. um, uh, does a retcon is a retcon considered a pejorative term? Like, is there a general feeling that the term retcon is a pejorative when it comes to narrative construction? And if it is, which I feel like it is, but I'm throwing it out there as a question, if it is, why is that? And I think it's because it doesn't feel as much as an emotional payoff as something that felt constructed and intended from the beginning, right?
I think perhaps. I mean, it's used in a pejorative term, but I think because so often retconning is used as a way to sort of get out of narrative problems.
Yeah,
You just redefine, rewrite sections of canon or whatever. Whereas this, they don't change anything in canon; they just put it in a different light. And then, I think it's up to us whether we read it the way that Josh was saying last time that he read it, or the way that I read it. Is it someone? Is there intent in what Jasmine did, or did she just look at a bunch of events and claim credit for them?
connect the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah. Anyway, I think that there is definitely some kind of intention, I think, behind all the discussion of mummy, daddy, grandmom, baby. There is some kind of seeds intended there. I don't want to fall for the fallacy of intent of assuming that what we see was fully formed as an intention when they made it, but I think
right.
they knew they were playing with fire. So I think they knew they were going to they knew they were going to build something.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and I'm sure a lot of this, when doing a show, falls under. I mean, as we've seen with season 4 of Buffy, falls under best laid plans. Headline. Well, I kind of hijacked your point there. What else you got?
So yeah, the color thing was interesting, and the costuming. This sort of like, I was thinking that there really is sort of like I was thinking that Drew's dress kind of made me think of a placenta.
Okay.
With all the talk of mummy and daddy, because we got the capillaries looking red lace and everything. Like, it just, and she's functioning as that sort of bringing Darla back to life.
Mm-hmm.
back to Dead from Life, and also maybe it's because I had the subtitles on, but it occurred to me that she's talking about Mummy, um, and she's wrapped in bandages. So there's that connotation.
Yeah,
Mummy.
yeah, I did get that too. Yeah,
So yeah, that's sort of interesting sort of stuff about life and rebirth and the sort of parenthood and family and the incestuous nature of all of their things. But the thing about the way in which Drusilla, the Drusilla Darla Angel relationship, Darla made Angel the monster that he was,
right.
and Drew, it was sort of the moment when he came into his own and like surpassed his teacher. And there's an eternal shame, I think, with him around Drew, because he does describe her in Buffy as the worst thing he ever did.
Yeah,
And then her recreating, her rebirthing Darla, who made him, like, there's a real, and the whole things about thinking about the whole Mummy stuff, which is ultimately she's going to die in an alley and die in childbirth. And so there's a whole sort of tragic seeds of your own destruction thing, like creating the thing that will destroy you,
yeah.
creating the thing that creates the thing that will destroy you. It's very Greek. There should be a play.
Yes, we should all be Greeks.
But talking of plays, actually, I had an interesting revelation on this watch looking at Holland Manners.
Okay.
Because
And
I
his
just,
bowl cut.
yeah.
Yeah.
For class, I'm doing Queer Lit, and we just watched Angels in America,
Okay.
which, by the way, is sublime. And there's a character in there who is actually, he is Roy Cohn. He's based on a real life person, who is this. I see shades of him in Holland Manners, except Holland Manners is Mannerly, but he's this horrible person who like creates, who is responsible for a lot of the bad things in America right now, and he was responsible for a lot of oppression, including of queer people, but he himself was gay,
Hmm.
and died of AIDS, which is where that's Angels in America. It partly involves him dying of AIDS.
Yeah. But I mean, likening him to Manners is an interesting connection. I like it.
Yeah, and if you watch the miniseries, he's played by Al Pacino, doing an incredible job, and there are similarities I saw in the way Pacino played him, and particularly in his relationship to Lindsay. Because I was thinking about because there's this character Joe, who is a closeted gay man that Roy in the play is grooming,
Yeah.
both for political machinations and also pretty obviously for other things. And so I was thinking about and so there's a sort of queering of the relationship, the mentor relationship. And I was thinking of that in terms of Manners and Lindsay. Because there is his behavior has been grooming the whole time. There's grooming and there's gaslighting, because his whole thing about telling him to have healthy attachments, when he is like the most unhealthy attachment.
Yeah. He's the antithesis of a healthy attachment.
So there is a seduction and a grooming going on.
Well, for sure the role from Blind Date, though, that Holland I think tries to step into is Lindsay talks about his dad being stepped on, his dad being them taking away the house and him promising that he would never ever do that. And Holland, at least in that point, is very fatherly, but it is. I'll have to think about it. Yeah, I mean,
And
I like the connection.
yeah, I think I'm probably maybe I'm the only one who's seen the play and or
Yeah,
the
well, I
mini
have not. Yeah,
to recognize, because that guy uses the, you know, lack of father figure stepping into the father figure role as the method of grooming.
yeah,
And
whatever
so
the entry point is, for sure.
yeah, and so it's incredibly sinister. And I was just thinking of that with Holland. And I'm not saying that, you know, that Holland is gay, although it's interesting to consider maybe he is, or at least maybe he's interested in Lindsay in more than
Hmm.
just as a, you know, mentee.
Yeah,
But there is definitely a seduction aspect there,
for
um,
sure.
and an abuser dynamic created, which is quite interesting. And Lindsay with his death wish and his like his just kind of need for somebody strong to sort of pick him up and give him direction. And without that, he seems he's just ready to die.
Well, yeah, the bit that I do need to move on, but the bit that I
Yeah.
was reminded of I mean, I've watched the episode 4 or 5 times this month. The last time was I mean, what he's what's the actor's name? Lindsay's Nathan Kane, not Nathan.
Christian Kane.
Christian Kane, thank you. What he's doing in that scene is so interesting. At the end, I'm not afraid. I guess I just don't mind. Not fearing his own death, and like the main reference that we've had to that so far is Angel's ambivalence to the Shanshu prophecy at the end of season 2, and Wes pointing out Angel's cut off. Death doesn't bother him because there's nothing in life that he wants. It's our desires that make us human, and I think there's an interesting commentary there of Lindsay sort of getting everything he ever wanted, and so every desire is sated. There is no there's something like about the balance between wanting something and having something, and once you have all the things, you know, it's sort of it's. I think that scene, the most straightforward interpretation is, you know, he's into Darla and he's just kind of not worried. But I do think there's some sort of metatextual thing going on there about that, because the show carries that to Wes in into in the final episode in the series. There's nothing that I want, and that's the day he dies. Is when he has lost all his human desires. Fred's gone. There's nothing he wants. There is no perfect day. And if
And they're
every day
both
is perfect, then none of them mean anything. It's sort of the Lindsay end of that spectrum. You know, it's the journey, it's the movement in between, the moving towards that matters.
no changing.
Yeah, yeah, I think it's really interesting. I wish that there was more to that for sure. But
I think there's something interesting there as well about them both being into dead girls.
yeah,
If is being in love with a dead girl some form of being in love with death?
yeah, good stuff. Even though never really, there's never really a climax to it. I think it's definitely interesting to ponder. Was there anything else you want to throw out about the episode?
No, I think I've talked long enough.
All right, let me go on to Boris, Mr. Boris, sir. Hi, coming to us from a cave. Taking quarantine a little more seriously than the rest of us.
Oh, well, you know, you hear about these Delta variants. You gotta be careful.
Well, hey, how you doing, bud?
Anyway.
Oh, no, it's okay.
So this episode, it's pretty decent. I don't know if I'd like call it like one of the absolute best personally. Like, the ending's pretty cool. I'll give it that.
Well, it's interesting.
whatever reason, I remember-
These two episodes have 3 of the most memorable scenes in the series. Would you agree with that? Drew turning Darla, him locking up the lawyers, and him firing everyone. Whether or not the episode as a whole, you say, is one of the best in the series, those 3 moments are certainly, I mean,
yeah.
up there, right?
Yeah, like for whatever reason, I remember liking Redefinition more than this one, but maybe I'd have to rewatch it to be sure.
See, the only thing I remember from that episode, and I haven't watched it in a while, is the fire.
Well, it also has the crew singing "We Are the Champions," so that's fun. They're drunk and
Of course, how could I forget?
and Angel has his narration of like wackiness, like it's his inner monologue of doom.
Oh,
That's fun.
yeah. Anytime Angel's narrating, it's like goatees in Star Trek or him smoking a cigarette. It's not a good. It's never good.
Yeah, so yeah, I guess back to the episode in general.
Yeah. For now, until I drive us away from it.
Oh, well, I might drive us.
No. Go ahead, bud. I'm sorry.
I guess since we were talking about Holland Manners, like, and as you were talking about in the rewatch and stuff, like, it is just kind of neat that this is kind of his fate to be doomed, because like he's talking in the room about like we all did some great work here, and it's gonna be part of a grand plan, and then
Yeah.
and he's been talking since Blind Date about like none of us has our own life, we're all part of something larger, and ultimately like this came to bite him in the butt here, where it's like he didn't foresee, as much as he was talking about that, he didn't foresee the fact that he was irrelevant to the grand scheme ultimately, and like you encourage, you bring cruelty into the world, and it bites back, and he didn't see that coming. He, even with a future teller, he got bit.
Yeah, this is a big part of the review. It's difficult to talk about but for me, I can't just write a review of Angel. I think it's easy. So masked, and they carry for 4 seasons. There's a constant running question of wait. What was the plan? Why did you get Drew to do this instead of a wet bandit vampire from the corner someplace that you could have just turned? I mean, yes, I understand more guilt for Angel, but so Holland never knew, and what was the plan? And there's always a question now of, is it Wolfram and Hart? Is it Jasmine? What's going on?
Well, I guess the idea is that like the senior partners plan some stuff out, and like Holland is like a lower level, and ultimately he dies because like he's not that essential. Now, whether or not they planned on him dying is a question, but like,
well, the entire season is foreshadowed in what's the to Shanshu in L.A. The dude comes. This is the thing that was meant to bring him down to us, and so Angel gets the entire group stripped away from him, and the guy, the Phantom of the law firm with the mask, is the one that facilitates everything, and then he gets killed, and that's pays off again here with Holland being the one who facilitated the entire thing. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, Spike wasn't intended to live beyond what's my line. I wouldn't be surprised if Lindsay was supposed to die in this episode, but the writers just like Lindsay, Christian Kane, so much, and he sort of lives beyond. But again, I think I would bet Holland was supposed to die because so many of the beats from this season are in to Shanshu in L.A. blow for blow, and then they repeat them as things kind of go on.
It would have been kind of interesting if they had kept Holland around, but like,
he's so good.
Yeah, like he's awesome, and like at least for a prize bit, that's gonna be great.
I mean, they get to. Had he done Lost at this point, or was he about to do
that's
Lost?
2004. Or like 2005 when those episodes happened. So that's like after Angel ended, more or less.
Yeah, well, maybe he was. I mean, I know they filmed Lost in Hawaii, which probably didn't leave him much time to fly back and be Holland Manners. So who knows?
I guess also onto Holland, because he has that whole thing with like Lindsay being like, you know, you need to make some connections, man. Like it's you can't, it's not all work and all play or something, or whatever the phrase is. And like I kind of think back to like the whole thing in season 1 that Doyle was spouting. It's like, you know, you gotta make the connections, man. And
Oh yeah.
which
Yeah.
obviously that ties into the Shanshu ending where like, you know, Angel cuts Lindsay's hand off and stuff. And like, and with this episode, you know, Angel cuts off his friends to like do his own dark thing. So that's the parallel there, I suppose.
Yeah, there's lots of ties like that. I can never really tell if Lindsay was intended to be a mirror. I think it's kind of nice that Lindsay seems to have beats that are just his own journey. Although, when does the Evil Hand episode occur?
That's like after Epiphany. It's episode 18.
Yeah,
I'm
so
actually really.
his turn kind of coincides with Angel's anyway in terms of the timing. So I think they were doing a mirror motif there.
I'm kind of curious, like, why they had him leave for so long, and like, because they bring him back for season 5, obviously, and stuff. But like,
Well, he had to pursue his country career. Doesn't Christian
Oh, is
Kane
that it?
have like? Doesn't Christian Kane have like 10 albums? I don't know how many he has, but he's got a lot of
same with
albums.
Jensen Ackles, so he gets around.
Yeah, he had to go on tour.
Okay, if that's the explanation, that makes a bit more sense. But you know, Lila was cool as the kind of the replacement boss person. So
Yeah,
that
Lila's
wasn't all
terrific.
bad. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, another thing I liked was when they're driving in the car and Angel's like, I don't want to go to deal with that vision, and Corey gets out the stake and it's like, you better go and get him. So that was amusing.
Yeah,
And,
that J turn though.
I had not seen that dummy before. I'd have
You've
to
not
look up.
seen that before? I can't.
No.
I'm so sorry for anyone who did the rewatch. I'm so sorry for anyone I ruined that for. But I saw. I get now why they use the take, because I'm the only one that noticed it apparently. But it is shocking to me, the Charisma Carpenter dummy in the back seat of the car.
Yeah. And so yeah, I mentioned this during the.
So sorry, everyone in the stream.
A lot of apologies for everything. And then, so yeah, with that vision, it's like, so obviously the powers don't want Angel to be at the lawyer location and stuff, which does kind of raise the question: did they just want the lawyers to die anyway? Because like, some of them might have escaped, but like, I'm sure most of them would have died.
The more I watch the show, the more that question starts to bug me. Wait, what was the plan? You know, and the thing of it is they can sort of cloak it behind. So what is it you expect Angel to do? What he can do, what he must do. Save her soul. Have him say some cool, meaningless garbage, and then cut away from it, so that him going, actually, here's exactly what the plan is, and here's what isn't exposed to the audience, but that also meant that they didn't have to figure it out. But we, as viewers, especially on the first run-through, assume there was a plan. There absolutely must have been a plan. But the more I watch it, I go, so they wanted Angel to be evil so that he would set them on fire, and then... You know, like, I think I'm going to wear out that bit of Tony from the Avengers saying, not a great plan. Because the more I try and figure out what they were trying to do, it's so convoluted and weird. And there's no big reveal like Adam. So I want to destroy all the people and all the demons and then make Dema people. All right, not a great plan, but at least we know exactly what he was trying to do the entire time. That was the kind of the setup of that final episode, and that just doesn't exist.
It makes more sense than the first, at least. I can at least say that.
Makes more sense than what?
First plans make no sense when you really delve into them.
Yeah, the first is just a big troll. He's like the first is the first internet troll, other than the trio.
Sure.
He's just trolling the potentials the entire season.
Other things. I like that when Angel is drinking the blood earlier in the episode, he noticeably has a lot of like on the lips, which he doesn't usually do, but which is probably symbolic in a way. Yeah, so there's that.
Sorry,
it's neat that we have-
Boris, one sec. Yeah, Emily, I think the first may be chaos. There's a reading where the first is chaos. Entropy, all things tend towards chaos, and him sowing chaos. So I think that's a good reading of that season. But go ahead, Boris.
Yeah, so yeah, there's the blood on the lips thing, and so that's neat. And it's neat that we get the whole Kate thing here, where it's like we kind of get a bit more payoff for her, like her change of mind, as it were. And we even have like Lindsay kind of threatening to like doing a similar threat, where he's like, "We're gonna put you in like in a cell with like sun view or something," whatever he said.
Isn't it weird? That's one scene with Kate, and it is the most. Jack immediately said while we were watching it, "I really like her in the scene. She has no lines. She just sits here and says, 'I think you can stop him,' and lets him go." Or I think you can stop them and let them go. And I feel the same way. I have that visceral, emotional reaction of like, man, Kate's being so nice. She hasn't said "you're kind" once, or any of that stuff. It's just like
going through some stuff, man.
Less is more.
We got to the other side. That's the important thing. we're doing. It's all good.
Yeah.
We're all chill, and we're gonna have some tough times ahead later in the season for her. But like, it's all good. We're all chill.
Oh, it's a 1-episode reprieve, but it's there, so it's nice. But I think it speaks to her character the rest of the season that the episode where she has the least number of lines and emotes the least is the one where more than one of us has gone, I like Kate in that scene. It's pretty good.
I was trying to be defensive of Kate, and you managed to turn it around and convince her. I understand. I'm not going to convince anyone of that. Like, everyone's made up their own minds. So
yeah. Welcome to my world.
Yeah. I guess
do you have one more thing you want to throw out?
I guess there's that. It's just kind of the whole thing with like whether or not the lawyers should have died or whatnot. And I guess your point about there possibly being innocence in there is decent, though I would add that maybe if they were innocent, they probably should have said something earlier. I'm just saying.
Well, like, don't kill me, I'm innocent, but these people, they're okay.
It's like I don't even know who you are. Just because like none of them are like, who's this crazy? Who are these crazy chicks with the weird faces?
I believe that's Dread.
Well, that can only. They had a lot of time though. Like they could have said something. Yeah, there's also like it's weird.
Angel
that,
condemned the lawyers and the caterers.
Oh,
yeah, the party was catered. That's a good point, Josh.
Oh no. And it's also a little weird that Drew left the Holland's wife alive just so Angel could like go in there. But I guess that's a little annoying. But there's always some weird invitation loophole they have to pull.
Yeah.
Something.
Well, the one that I was struck by that I will never ever get over. It's a line that I wish didn't exist in the series. Just like there's, I think the Soul Canon is set up by 1 or 2 lines, and then it's contradicted multiple times over the course of the series. But the one is, "You have to do it. I have no breath."
Oh,
Angel in Prophecy Girl, "You have to do it. I have no breath." And the first thing Darla does when she comes back to life is gasp twice. Big old beefy gasps, like. And I just hear that in my head every single time. "You have to do it. I have no breath." And I wish that line didn't exist.
No. Well, I guess we got back to retcons then. So.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe the lawyers deserve to die, but I can see why it's a bad thing and all that. I understand. I am a little more sympathetic to Angel about it now than I was when I first watched it. But like them lawyers, they had it coming.
Well,
it's what they were getting into.
The bit I get into in the episode guide is it's an example of the trolley problem. If you're in any position going to justify Angel philosophically, it's the idea that he saved more people than he enabled the death of in that scene. but there are some fundamental fallacies to the trolley problem. Josh, I see you talking to me. We'll have a conversation in a minute. There are some big problems to the trolley problem fundamentally that are
the
easy
gifts.
to
Oh no.
to refute. So expect more Good Place clips in the upcoming video. But I do need to move on, bud. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that pretty much. I got most of the major points. So let's move forward.
All right, let me go to Sarah C. Hello.
So nervous. I just got up to make rice. So.
Oh, well, do you want...
No.
Are you just telling me a rice story?
I'm just saying that's why I left.
Oh, got it. Now we're on the same page.
Every time I've been on here, I've had my mic. Oh, okay, you can hear me clearly.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
I've worn this shirt, which is funny because I don't actually wear this shirt that much, but it seems like that's the only article of clothing I own. Anyway, I just think that's funny from your perspective.
There's hundreds of videos of me wearing this shirt, so
Okay, fantastic.
yeah,
All right,
we're good. Tell me about Reunion.
Oh, I mean, I was not even planning on coming, and I was like, oh my god, Reunion. That episode was so cool. So
Yeah.
I have this little, I was drawing like sketches for no reason, but like
Okay.
I have a few charts here. By charts, I mean my scribbles. So it's fascinating. So Darla and Angel have this sort of like tit for tat thing in like they are mirrors for each other. Obviously, like we've seen that throughout, yada, yada, yada. But I think it's so interesting, like the different paths they go through that to me make them two of the most compelling characters in the entire Buffyverse. Where like, I mean, this is incoherent. I'm probably just going to explain it with my words. But like the way they go through having souls or not having souls and the back and forth of it all. So Darla and Angel both start out as humans. Then they are both vampires. So they're soulless. Then she dies. Then he becomes a vampire with a soul, which is a metaphorical death. It's treated like a death.
Yeah.
And then he comes and then he gets his soul back, which is like a revival. That's 1997. Then she's a human with a soul. He's a vampire again. This is sounding incoherent, but you get my point. But and then he, I'm gonna go through with it. I'm almost done. And then
Okay.
and then she's a human, so she has a soul.
Yeah.
And then she's again robbed of that soul and made into a soulless demon. And then she's a vampire with a soul in a weird proxy way via Connor. And then she dies. And then Angel is a vampire with a soul. Then he dies, and then he comes back, and then he's loses it again, and then he gets it back again. Season 4, right? So Angel's is a little bit longer, but they both have this like fascinating like back and forth of like soul no soul, which the ether is just lobbing it back and forth like a tennis ball. But it's so interesting to me the way that it deals with who obviously there's the remorse angle,
Sure.
right? The ability, are you even capable of feeling remorse? But there's the who is this person and then who is this person again. So what I think is so interesting is how he's looking at something that he's never gotten to see from his vantage point. He's looking at himself. He got to spend time with Darla, both as a demon, right, and jealous, and then as a human very, very briefly. He got to see her for whatever she could be, and then he gets to see what it looks like when all that is stripped away. And so there's an element of that he's looking at himself. He's looking at that journey from the outside, which is a really weird, it's a really bonkers journey at all to even be a vampire and then to lose it and then get it again. But he's looking at that.
And not to complicate your diagram even further, but Russell brought up a point in the rewatch, which was that this is a new demon in Darla. So according to the lore, a demon comes and takes over your body. She died completely and then is restored as human and did the exact same Darla demon, just like the Darla soul came from.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say the way that the lore actually treats it beyond that one line in season 1 is not that it's an external demon, because then there wouldn't be any of the discussions. Oh, it's some demon that did it, not me. It's who was I without a conscience. It's always
it isn't just that though.
Weight of the stories is it's never treated as some external thing, because then there would be no questions about identity and morality, because it would just be, oh, some rando took over my body, hey, I'm back. It's like, oh man, all the things I did. So like technically, narratively, it's not treated as like it's not you.
What about the purebred demon in the Lorne mini season at the end? Angel turns into the pure vampire demon, and rips the guy's arms off.
When we get there, but nonetheless, I mean,
spoilers.
Certainly, and like I think that's saying splicing, right? Splicing the part of you that whatever is, all impulse. Yeah. That's still a part of you.
Sure.
Right. And whatever, there's
Oh, I see. Okay.
Mid-floor. But I'm saying the way that the narrative in both shows actually talk about it, it's not like, oh my God, I'm back. I mean, it is for like 2 seconds when they get their memories back, but it's always, these were things about me. Yeah. And because the stories, yada, yada, are about, considering yourself, and there's no point in saying, I was possessed when I was a bad person. So whatever. Anyway, so I think it's super, super neat how the two of them have these like wonky ass like paths. So hold on, this is not written like in order, so let me just so there's an inversion of the succession, right? This is just obvious, but like there's an inversion of the succession, and it goes from being a line to being a circle, right? First it's Darla, Angelus, Drew, and then it loops around like this like weird feedback loop, right?
Okay.
And
yeah. The grandmother became Gunn is talking about at the beginning of this episode.
So everything is now his fault. It's even more his fault, because I mean, and that's why the drama of having Drew do it. Obviously, yes, they could have just dragged someone, but it's all about the poetry and the drama and whatever, and it's even more his fault. Drew was only able to do this because Drew is a vampire, because Angelus did that, right? So it's just insult to injury. And so Darla turns evil again, right? And in the tit for tat that they're doing here, that he was like, oh, I can have a Darla with a soul to talk to. She goes dark. I mean, in like the most literal way, like she loses any capability to be anything else, and he goes dark to match her, right? There's this very like, so. And he's looking at Darla, who he now, like the way that, again, he sees himself, that a Darla with a soul like him, and that he was trying to get through to, right? He was trying to do his whole sponsor thing of like, now you get how I feel. And now not only can she not at all, she no longer can feel any of that guilt or responsibility.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I didn't get to you. I'm not. Yeah, but he gets to apologize to her at the end of the episode.
Yeah. Oh, and one more thing. I think this is just, I think, the extraneous. I just think it's interesting how in all the flashbacks where we see Darla and Drew, Darla's kind of like annoyed at Drew. She doesn't really like her. It feels like she's kind of annoyed by her being around. And then here she kind of likes her. They're like it's a relationship that we didn't really see prior. Like first it was like rolling her eyes at like anything she would say, and now it's like, okay, yeah, let's go kill people together, bestie. So
well, they bond, but it does happen rather quickly. I was watching it. We talked about it a little bit on the rewatch, but the two things I thought of that over at this time were Drew torturing Angel for making her in season 2, which is a strange thing. You think a vampire enjoys being a vampire, but Drew tortured Angel for what Angelus did to her and her family. In that episode. So there's something about the violence with which a person gets turned that speaks to me, where Angel, certainly didn't know what he was getting into, but there was a seductive aspect to what Darla says to him in the alley. Show me your world. They turn. And so it's more of an invitation and less of it's all assault when you get down to it, but it's more of an invitation and less of an act of power and dominance that she did to him. But Drusilla forced the turn on Darla again there, and so that's the way I read that, her sort of waking from the dream of life and reacting with violence to the person that turned her. is my reading of that. But I think that you need to make some reading of it, because sometimes the vampire wakes up pissy at the person that turned them, and sometimes they, start making out and then eat a crypt keeper. It's just you never know what's gonna happen.
But yeah, but that's to me, that's like, even like, once again, like her wanting to avenge her family, right? It's
Right.
not, hey, thanks
Yeah.
for giving me a body, like I'm a random demon from no, it's like, you, like, I am Drusilla, corrupted and torn apart, and you
Yeah.
in some weird, yeah.
Darla says in that scene why, and the interesting thing, the Lady Eternal, in the episode for Darla, spoke about how Darla died a prostitute, and sort of made Angel her patron and fed him and took care of him. And in that scene, when Drew's crying about being lonely, it seems to trigger a sort of caretaker aspect to Darla's personality, where she hugs her and starts taking care of Drew in that moment, the way she always did to Angel, and so forth. So, I think there is some character consistency all the way through there, even if the moments happen rather quickly. There's a lot of story they're telling here, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's... I always say, but like my biggest complaint about all of this is I just wish it had been stretched out, like all of it, like this, everything that happens in this episode, human Darla, just there's so much to dig into, and I feel like they barely scratched the surface.
Yeah, you can still buy the Buffy and Angel novels at places online, and I've been tempted. The official licensed books
on this plot.
Well, no, I don't know. Like the Buffy ones are typically they're full length ones that take place during high school. Not I don't know about the Angel ones, but it would be interesting to dive into a nice meaty novel that sort of builds out and plays with these themes a little bit more.
Yeah.
Then again,
for sure,
lots of vampire fiction, but I want the Buffy verse. Is there anything else you want to throw out about Reunion?
I mean, no. You reminded me about the demon guy in Pylea, so I'm stoked about that. I will say one external thing. I've been watching, and there's been sort of a Twilight renaissance, which is unfortunate. I've been watching the Twilight movies as I like make food, just like as background noise. They're not good, but the thing that I think is so like, whatever.
Yeah.
Someone who read the books when I was the correct age. But what I think is so different, I was thinking about the way that vampires are treated in Buffy versus like in Twilight. Not that there's like only two versions, but is that like there is a cost in Buffy. There's and it's very clear. You lose a part of yourself. It's not just like, cool, I'm strong and immortal. It's like you lose a part of yourself and you're vulnerable, right? There's a lot of weaknesses. And I think that's what makes it genuinely compelling when someone is like, no, I won't. When Angel's like, no, I won't turn you. I won't damn you to this. Because in Twilight, like Bella's like, oh my God, turn me. And you're like, well, you just turn hot and immortal and have superpowers. And like, you're still, you can be moral.
Like nobody's business.
You sparkle, your soul, like they do some like nonsense with the soul, but they're not amoral.
Yeah.
They just can choose
exactly.
to, like,
there are very few
body.
consequences to being a vampire.
Like, that's why it's not interesting. It's like, this is interesting. It's like, there's a reason you go, yeah, I get why you wouldn't want to, he feels damned and he doesn't want to damn someone because you see it's very clear. Okay. That's
all right. Good deal. I need to take a 2-minute break. If you guys can vamp for just 1 sec, I will be right back.
Vamp.
Hey, Jack.
Hey. Hi, Sarah. How are you, my love?
You're looking very sleepy.
I am incredibly tired, but I'm okay. I'm here. I'm mostly awake.
Jack got his jab, everybody.
Yeah, I am half vaccinated. Woo!
Yay!
I got my second jab on the 26th. It is already August in my neck of the woods, and my God, that is weird.
Yeah. Yep.
Man, 2020 Part 2 has been crazy.
Worst sequel ever. 2020, right? The quickening.
Give us the future tidbits, Jack. What's August like so far?
Well, it's a little cold. It's a little I don't know. It's just like July, really, unfortunately. But we'll see.
In your neck of the woods, it's coming to winter.
Well, it's been winter for a while. We're actually at the tail end of winter
Right.
now. I think spring starts around September, October. I don't know, somewhere around there. I don't know. Yeah. It's been pretty cold though lately.
So what you
I
working on for Chipperish these days?
So I'm currently working on 2 podcasts. Still Pretty, which is a Buffy pop podcast, and then Endless, which Lonnie and Alisa Whitney, editor for DC Comics, are going through the Neil Gaiman run of Sandman, and then they'll be
Wow.
getting into the TV show.
Nice.
So yeah, I've actually got one of those to edit after the stream. So yay!
Dang.
No,
Have you
no,
made
no,
any
it's fine.
strides in your own original content?
You just had to ask me that, didn't you? No. I'm just gonna be honest. No.
You still got 5 months. You can. make some
I
strides.
know that there is still time, man. There is still time.
Even
You know,
making the channel is a step. It
Mm.
gets you confidence. It gets you things going.
I mean, I've got some ideas, so that's good for like videos and yeah. So I mean, I'm working on it up here, but I haven't made any like physical steps. But
Sounds like
Getting
you need to
more
work on it
confident-
in
You're
here.
getting more confident on our podcast.
sorry,
That's
what's
nice.
that?
You're getting more confident on our podcast. and that's
Yes. That's a lot of fun. By the way, if you're into Farscape, you should check out Muppet Sex and Trauma. There is
Well-
lots of Muppets, lots of sex, and lots of trauma. If that's your thing.
And the Discord is nice too.
Yeah. Myself, Sarah, and Josh, we are making our way through Farscape.
We are.
And it's a lot of fun. You should come
It
and
is.
check it out.
You should.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Hi,
Ian.
Dr. Nick.
It's good to see you. I've missed you. Let's go to Lauren. Lauren, hi. How you doing?
Hi.
Hi. Your background's very glowy and bright.
Yes. Got my lights and my sheer curtains.
Sorry, let me. How's it going?
Good. Good. So, I mean, awesome episode.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you for getting us on track.
No problem. I'm trying to keep to the 10 minutes.
Oh
especially
yeah,
since
no, you're all good.
I'm tired. But yeah, so regarding Drusilla and her torturing Angel back in Buffy, I mean, I
Okay.
think she was like Vampire Drew was happy to be a vampire. But I also think that she did remember the pain and the fear and the terror and like every bad emotion known to man.
Yeah,
Well-
the interesting thing though is she had plenty of opportunity to do that to Angelus, but she didn't. She waited until there was a soul and conscience and regret in order to do it to him, which I think is what makes that
That
scene
is
so
very
interesting.
And I mean, you know, bringing up as you called it, the dumb. Well, I don't want to use the G word because we're not supposed to, but the dumb curse.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you know, what if it had been Drusilla who killed the Romani girl, and would the elders have cursed her? And so I was actually binging your earlier episode guides this week, so they're all like fresh in my head now. That's what I do.
That's a lot of me.
I like having a lot of you though.
Well, I appreciate it.
But yeah, so this episode, I wonder, because you know we were talking about, you know, the demon that takes up shop in the vampire. Was it the same demon that immediately picked up where she had left off in Darla? And
Well, I mean the bit that's coming up in the Pylea arc suggests that the demon is an identifiable specific creature. I mean, but it depends on how you read that scene. Sarah was suggesting that it's sort of the distillation of terrible impulse and darkness that's in every one of us. But I that's not how I read the text of that scene and how it's sort of written and played. Angel can't. It may be, but that just wasn't my first blush interpretation of those scenes. So if it's a singular demon, did a new one come to Darla at the beginning of this one, and how much does the demon influence personality other than sort of its hunger for hedonism? The hedonism driven by the taste of the person that they take over.
I kind of feel like it was the same demon that took over again because, I mean, technically she is a fledgling. She's a young vampire, but in the fray with her, Angel and Drew, like she was holding her own against two vampires that in this timeline are older than her. But she had the strength. She was matching and even surpassing them in strength. Like she was tossing Angel away, and
that's another thing I was struck by in the scene was how powerful she is the second she woke up. So you're saying that that's a reading that it's the demon that was already familiar with her, which is interesting. That's an interesting. I would call that a headcanon of that scene, but I think it's a good one.
They don't. I mean, no one ever says so.
Exactly.
But and I know a couple of weeks ago, I mean, twice now in the last few sessions, we've been talking about like how Riley killed Sandy and Buffy killed the druggy vampire.
Yeah.
And so, here with Angel letting all of the human lawyers die, I mean, as far as he knew anyway, we know that some of them, get out because Drew and Darla let them.
Yeah.
But he, I mean, he's an accessory to murder.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, his friends call him out on it immediately after. It's like, you're going down this dark path. We're the only ones standing in your way. And now thinking ahead, I mean, these were humans. And so thinking ahead to the gift where we know that Giles is going to kill Ben, a human.
Yeah.
And Ben, I think for the majority of the fandom, the second he gave Dawn back to Glory, the entire fandom was like, okay, we're done with you. We want you dead. We hate you. We don't like you.
Well, the one of the fallacies of the trolley problem. So the trolley problem being that, you're in a trolley, it's headed towards a person is a group of people, and it's going to run over them. Or you can pull a handle, and the trolley is going to redirect and hit just one person. Do you pull the handle? And then there are various adjustments to it.
Yeah, I actually remember in college, the trolley problem was this rich guy who just retired and bought himself a nice car, and for whatever reason decided to park his car on the train track. And do you change the lever so the trolley doesn't hit the kid, or do you change the lever so that it hits your brand new car? It's like, why did you park your car on the train track?
Well, and that's the big thing is it's I can't remember the name of the fallacy, but the fallacy of binary outcome, which is like the difference between the trolley and any of the other circumstances is the trolley is on rails. Mm-hmm. To suggest that Angel had the choice to kill all the lawyers or something else suggests there were only two outcomes, but there were many outcomes, many things he could have done other than to kill or not to kill. I mean, I suppose in the instance of murdering, it's to murder or not to murder, but that wasn't the only way of stopping them from doing evil. under those circumstances. And I think that the that bit in the Into the Woods guide got a lot of feedback, as in, well, this is Buffy's job, and Buffy just kills vampires. Like, I didn't see that as cruelty. I saw that as Buffy just coming to her senses that she is the Slayer and she slays vampires. But that, but I don't think that's the way the scene is staged, by making that vampire deliberately look like a victim of abuse in that sequence. But she doesn't just do that. There's Spike, and Spike has a chip, and she chooses not to kill him. It's not just kill every vampire. She doesn't kill Angel. There are mitigating circumstances by which she decides not to kill the vampires. That vampire in the scene looks like she couldn't hurt a fly. She is biting willing customers. This is something that comes to mind when in the episode in season 2 where season 1 where Buffy stops the vampire stealing from the blood bank. It's like, do you want murdering vampires? Because this is how you get murdering vampires. You know,
Well,
like there are other approaches than sort of this binary idea of, you know, that people see those scenes through, or at least Angel sees that sequence through.
Well, in thinking about that, how often has Buffy staked vampires that are just like fresh out of their grave? You know, I mean, like she did it to Ford. There was, I mean, how many scenes were her just sitting in the graveyard waiting for a vampire to wake up? And I mean, aside from where she was picking out college classes, she always staked them all, and that guy got a chance.
The other thing too that the lore seems to ignore is two contexts where we don't kill vampires. Number 1, chips. Number 2, souls. So you're saying there are chips and souls that can be restored and given to these demons to keep them from killing people. So we can take Ford and give him a soul, and he won't kill anyone? And she insta-stakes him as he comes out of the graveyard. Now, the excuse is we don't have that many of the orbs of Thessala. But come on.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's whatever the writers want.
Exactly. You look a layer or two deep here, and it's like, no. But I mean, that's why, in my mind, these scenes are more driven about the emotional interpretation that we're shooting for in that scene. Emotionally, Buffy was shaped in that scene to look cruel. Because if you scrape a couple layers below the lore, then it all falls apart anyway. So it's about the emotional interpretation of the scenes that we're talking about. Anyway, I'm sorry. We got talking about Into the Woods, and Into the Woods is a rabbit hole, and I start babbling and pass out.
Go down the rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, we didn't know that.
Factories? I mean, Giles runs the magic box. Are there not Orb of Thessala distributors? You know.
I mean, he used his as a paperweight, so.
Yeah. Apparently, they weren't in that high demand.
Nope. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, but back to Angel letting all these lawyers die, and like, yeah, some of them were genuinely evil and a danger to society, like
Sure.
you know, being murderers out on the streets and stuff. I mean, they have a hand in it, but I mean, how many of those people in the room were, you know, secretaries? Like lawyers have secretaries. They have. I mean,
at some point, I think you have to talk about the morality of murder. You know, the ethics of murder. I think that's going to come into definitely come in. I mean, that is an absolute must when it comes to the Gift and Dawn and all of that. But yeah, maybe I need to get into that a little bit more in this episode guide. Well, is there anything else you want to throw out about this episode?
Oh God, Josh mentioning Warren. We'll get to him. But no, I don't think anything else about this episode. I mean, it's definitely a very, very stellar one, and I mean, the last like 5 seconds is like, what the actual fuck? But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
But
Aaron says in chat, "Are we sure that's the only way to restore souls?" Good point, Aaron. There's actually more ways than the Orb of Thessalia to restore souls. Given that this is a fully spoiled conversation, which also
too. So,
which also again, like, man, being Angel's girlfriend is just a terrible, terrible job. I mean, in season 5, you're dating him. First of all, you've got the complex about, so did you turn evil? Wait, you didn't? You know, which is one thing. But then you find out that he could just go and do these trials that Spike went through and get a soul with no... Anyway, I'm sorry. Stopping. Thank you, Lauren. Let me go to Tom. Tom.
Hello, Ian.
Hey, bud. How you doing?
I'm okay. How about you?
2021 will end at some point.
Yes. Yeah. 2020 Electric Boogaloo. 2020 the Quickening.
Yeah. Return of the 2020.
Yeah.
Revenge of the.
Revenge.
I'm trying to think of a Fast and the Furious play on words. 221, Too Furious. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, tell me about Reunion.
2020. Yeah, this is definitely one of my favorites of the season, if not the series.
Yeah,
it's just so well constructed, so well, and we gave kudos and rightfully so to Tim Minear for the script.
Yeah,
but also James A. Contner for the direction. It's beautifully directed.
Yeah, my two favorite bits.
Except for the dummy, but that was editing.
Well, I mean, they have 2 weeks to shoot everything to do a 22 episode season show. So it is what it is. We know that it's never going to be perfect, but I love it ends with 2 landmark gut punches, and they could not be more aesthetically different. You know, the aesthetics of the scene with Angel slamming the door shut and the gothic horror nature of it and the way the sound ramps up and the screams and the music and all of that. And then the scene where he fires everyone is deafening silence. It is so affecting the way, but the scenes invert each other aesthetically. It's so interesting. It's so effective. The direction in the episode is just terrific.
Yeah. I absolutely adore Juliet Landau in this episode.
Yes.
Absolutely adore her.
I'm ringing.
So good, and she's so adorable in many ways, and so sexy, and so crazy, and she's crazy, sexy, cool, if I may coin a phrase.
She's Drusilla. I mean, I think that about sums it up.
And every line she speaks is pure gold. I mean, I love, you have beautiful skin. I moisturize. That was very thoughtful.
That was very thoughtful. That is such a. I didn't think about that line until one of these rewatches, and I went, man, that is chilly. That is, she's, you basted the meat is what she's saying. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes. And ironically, Lila ends up not getting eaten.
Well, they've got to have someone needling Angel, right. At Wolfram Hart.
Yeah. I also wonder, because they're both rather slim women that and I can't imagine that that had that much room in their stomachs for all those lawyers. I wonder if they just killed a few of them and just ate.
Yeah, you're.
I don't think they ate all.
You're picking the best fruit and throwing the rest on the ground. Yeah. I imagine if you're in that situation. I mean, they left Holland's wife alive, so certainly they didn't fill up on the hors d'oeuvre.
At least long enough.
Yeah.
To
Well,
But,
yeah, we needed the entryway.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder if they ever did get that people seller. No, maybe probably not. Uh, also, just to follow up on Sarah's talking about costumes. I looked it up, and the costumer for this episode is Enid Harris, who gave us the. I assume she was the one who came up with the color schemes and all the. I assume the costume person is the one who, does all the costuming for the show, and so it's like, yeah, I thought she did a terrific job too. Everything is good there. Now, in terms of demons and vampires, I always, my personal headcanon is that I take them take Giles at his word that a demon takes up residence in the person,
Yeah.
in the creature.
Someone said earlier.
So-
I think it was Sarah C. said earlier that. Oh, sorry, I did a Windows thing. That there's only one line to talk about the way that works. The demon takes over your body. But I mean, barring any need to revisit it, I mean, it's sort of like they sort of explained the way it worked, and we kind of went from there.
Yeah.
So, but what were you? Where were you going to go with that?
Well, my in terms of Darla, because I saw somebody in chat, I think it was Boris, who said that when Darla was killed, the demon was killed. When Darla was killed the first time.
Okay.
When Angel in episode 7 of season 1 of Buffy, Angel takes Darla, she goes to dust, and the demon dies along with her.
That makes sense.
On the other hand, maybe
hand.
the demon is just released and goes back to hell or whatever, and has to wait, a certain amount of time for a new opportunity to come up. But
well, it's really an ethereal thing we're talking about here anyway, right?
Yeah.
Rather than a tangible one, unless they found the demon germ in vampire blood. It seems like we're talking about magic when we're talking about
yes,
the transformation. So that would it would make sense that they are not necessarily destroyed in the way that a soul is not destroyed either, if there's some sort of similar and opposing force.
Right. One thing that actually I thought about, I was thinking about in terms of Wolfram and Hart, and it wasn't connected to this episode, but because I just recently watched the Chosen, and then the first episode of season 5 of Angel, and Wolfram and Hart helps Buffy stop an apocalypse
by sending her the
information and the talisman. Now, I assume that's because Wolfram and Hart has their own apocalypse planned, obviously, and if they're not the ones, if it's not their apocalypse, they probably don't get anything out of it. So, how many apocalypses has Buffy stopped? Like 7 apocalypses. I wonder how many of those apocalypses would have threatened Wolfram and Hart's plans. And
if your apocalypse doesn't hit, it doesn't count if it's not your apocalypse.
Exactly.
By the way, Sarah C., I agree with you. We're just throwing stuff against the wall. Is all. Absolutely, I agree that. It's up for grabs. Is all in how we read it for sure. Sorry, Tom. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I'm thinking Wolfram and Hart. Either the apocalypses she averted weren't that big a deal, like the Master Rising probably wouldn't have done, considering what we saw on The Wish, probably wouldn't have affected Wolfram and Hart's
No, that octopus puppet wasn't particularly mobile. He wasn't. It wasn't going far beyond the. Not much of an apocalypse there.
I don't even count Adam as an apocalypse. So
Yeah, were they calling? Yeah, it's interesting to when you think about what is the specific. There is an apocalypse in season 4. It's in Doomed.
Right.
Yeah, that's the one they.
That's just.
I'm not sure they call the Adam one. Yeah,
but that's just the Hellmouth opening, and
which is must be Tuesday.
Yeah. So I mean, and she's already done that, but again, would that have affected their apocalypse?
My favorite apocalypse is the Zeppo, which is the one that we never even.
That's true. Yeah,
which is in canon and counts.
Which actually Xander prevented. So
yeah, what do they call? She specifically asks him. Or no? Does Buffy ask? I think Buffy asks Giles, "How many apocalypses is this for us now?"
6,
and
I
think he says 7.
6 or 7
in the gift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So but I was wondered if Wolfram and Hart, if they were obviously aware of this one from Chosen, but how many of the others were they aware of? And cared about? They probably would have cared about Glory's one, but that wasn't a planned apocalypse. That would have just been a result of something else.
Yeah, that was just actual chaos, doors opening and realities colliding.
Yeah.
Well, is there anything else you want to throw out about Reunion, bud?
No, I think that's all. That's I'm good. Thanks.
All right, let me go to Emily, and then I'm going to go to Josh, and then Russell. Emily.
Hi.
Hi. Thanks for staying up.
That's all right. I'm feeling good. I've had coffee out on my Buffy mug, so
very nice. I think I'm on monster number 5, so I'm feeling good myself. Well, I've seen a lot. You having a lot of feedback on stuff that's gone by. So wherever you want to jump in.
Yeah. So the whole demon possession vampire thing.
Sure.
So I'll hit that first. So my read on it is similar to Sarah's, that like it's not a demon possessing your body. I think that line doesn't really jive with what we see in the rest of the show. But it is your your conscience removed, your soul removed, and then a whole load of id urges shoved in there on top of that, and then that is just who you are from there.
It's funny, we've talked about the soul canon, like the way the soul aspect of it works so many times, that I've kind of taken for granted. You would think that I would have stopped making this mistake 8 years ago, but I kind of assumed that we were all on the same page as the demon takes over, and we took that literally. But I'm 7 years, thank you, Boris. But I'm loving hearing that even that is up for grabs in the interpretation, and it makes sense. I mean, if the soul is not the seat of identity, but we look at it as the conscience, then the demon sort of being flexible rather than literal in the interpretation works. Or I think, of course, yes, of course, that would be a part of the discussion in our community.
Yeah, I sort of see it kind of similar to the Slayer in a way. So you mentioned the pilot arc where Angel's pure demon gets released. I always imagine that's similar to the theoretical pure Slayer that we would have seen in The Replacement if Toth's wand had distilled Buffy's pure Slayer essence.
Lovely.
Might not have looked so green and horny, but it would have been like something like that. Like Buffy is the Slayer, that is a part of her, but she's not being possessed by the Slayer. Like it is a part of her.
Well, the interpreter, like I think the way the season is structured is Glory is the pure Slayer. I mean, Glory is the pure power. She's pure id distilled.
Yeah, but then she's also like Cordelia. She's also Buffy's human pre-Sunnydale shadow self. So,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Go back and forth on that. I'm not yeah, I don't have a firm grasp on exactly. Glory's kind of everything at once.
No, that's fair. What else you got on
Yeah.
Reunion?
I really like this episode. This great episode. It's like I forget that so many iconic moments happen in this episode. I forget that Drusilla is only around for like 2 episodes because she feels like she has such a big impact.
Yeah, they are stunners.
Yeah.
She's a bigger impact than. I mean, I think she's up there with Jasmine and any of the other big hitters on down the line.
Yeah, I think they made a really good choice. Just they gave Juliet Landau a lot of stuff to do. They just they kind of almost underused her a little bit on Buffy. I like that she got to be the main villain for a bit and just go nuts, which she didn't really get to do outside of Surprise, really.
She may be the most consistent performance as vampire across the series. Juliet Landau is doing like a Darley Quinn thing. I feel like in the first season that's much more sort of gonzo, a little more gonzo, a little more happy jumpy. And I think that in terms of the vampires that are her die, resoul, or whatever it may be, like we can sort of justify as like it's not the same vampire anymore. She's no longer the vampire that she was in Buffy season 1 because she has lived again and has that new accumulation of experience and life and all of that, which has reshaped her personality into who she is here. But Juliet Landau, while her performance kind of builds out, especially as she's ill, is the character is ill when they first appear in Sunnydale. She, to me, feels the most consistent along the way, but she does have a bunch of meaty, wonderful things to play with in this episode for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I think what really struck me this time watching it was all the discussion around family, the whole, especially the scene where Gunn's trying to make sense of it, and he's talking about, okay, so the grandmother made the daughter made the grandmother, like it's all a big cycle. And I thought about how that relates to like cycles of abuse, like what Darla did to Angel caused what Angel did to Drusilla, and what Angel did to Drusilla has now come back around and is causing hurt to Darla, hurt to Angel, hurt to the rest of Angel Investigations. It's I think someone in the chat said Ouroboros, which I can't say, but that just sort of infinite loop that, that's snaking its own tail never ends. And I thought about how that kind of relates to actually a lot of Angel, and kind of more than I realized.
I think the precedent for literalizing that is in this season with Untouched. I think Untouched was intended to model what feels more metaphorical more often to people with the vampire cycle, to make it more of a especially when we're talking about these characters that become human again or have souls restored and are written as human characters with superpowers, essentially. That it is abuse, that it is that cycle of abuse that we're seeing over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Untouched is really important in that regard. And also carry on into season 3, everything we see with Holtz, that is again this cycle of abuse, what Angel and Darla did to him, and it's actually what ends up traumatizing Angel's own son. Like what he did to Holtz's family it eventually leads to his own son, growing up in a hell dimension and being the screwed up kid that he is.
Well, it definitely reminds me of, it all comes down to that scene with Spike and Angel in Damage.
Yeah.
She's an innocent victim, so were we once upon a time. And that's the nature of the cycle.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. that's ball game right there.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah. They were restating that multiple times, and then that just sort of elegantly, that episode's dynamite.
Yeah, I love that episode. It's, one of my favorites. I think I find it quite hard to rank Angel episodes, but Reunion is definitely like top 10.
So
probably Damages as well.
One thing I haven't been asking is where the episode. Would you call the episode a cliffhanger?
No, I think it's a
Yeah,
setup. It's telling you where the rest of the season is going to go.
Yeah, it's
it's an act break.
I believe Lonnie calls it a game changer in that regard. Then, so the game has been changed after this. Do you feel like? How do you feel about the upcoming episodes?
I really like them. I'm like a big defender of the whole Grey Angel arc and everything that goes on. I think it's great to see him isolated. I think it's fun to just. Because I haven't seen this part of the season in a while, but from what I remember, I like how they pair Angel up with all these different people, and that reveals different parts of him.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, they still need Lauren in a couple of episodes. I don't know. It'll be interesting.
Yeah,
it'll be interesting. The upcoming part of the season.
Yeah, I do like the Blood Money episode. I think that's quite an underrated one. I think
Blood Money's in 3. Is it in 2?
Is that is the one where with Anne where
I get that one confused with the one where he has the baby and he's like, we need to make money. And
I think that's Provider.
Yeah, I get Blood Money and Provider confused.
Season 3 has a whole load of we put a generic parenting word as the title, and there's 5 of them, and it's really confusing.
Sorry. Well, is there anything else you want to throw out about the episode?
Just on the closing bit with,
right.
I think there was some discussion about whether there were innocents in the room. And
yeah. Healthy ties.
I thought that Holland has a line where he's talking about the senior partners for the whole room. So that implies to me that everybody there is in on the whole senior partners thing. If there's a date there going, senior partners, what is he talking about?
Well,
it would be a bit weird.
Yeah, I dated someone who worked in an office for a venture capital company, and I definitely could have been eaten at that holiday party. Is all I'm gonna say. So I still think it's possible, but that holiday party reminded me a little bit of the scenes that we see going into that. Well, good deal.
Yeah.
What'd I say? Thank you, Emily. Josh, and then Russell, and then Russell. I think you're the caboose today. Sorry about that. Hi, Josh.
Jack will be the caboose today.
Oh yeah, Jack. Sorry, buddy.
Hi, Ian.
Last today, but first in my heart. Hey, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
Sweet. I'm having fun. I always have fun when we do this.
Same.
Which is funny. I think that eventually overcame my social anxiety and stage fright, which is just hanging out with a bunch of Buffy fans, talking about shows we enjoy.
Yeah, this is just us, just sitting around, shooting the shit on the metaphysics of a soul and the nature of a demon.
The ethics of murder.
It's light stuff. We're just breezing through it all. It's totally fine.
Yeah. Well, speaking of, you were silent movieing me while we were having conversations earlier. So wherever you want to jump on, by all means. Anything you want to comment on?
Well, I had an epiphany about something that could solve the
Wait. You had a what?
I realize that if nothing we do matters, I already knew that.
Yeah. I didn't.
It could solve the vampire question. So Buffy season 6 episode 3 Afterlife, which is one of my favorite episodes and one of the most underrated of the series, in my opinion.
Remind me what happens. The thick of it.
It's immediate. It picks up immediately after they revive Buffy, and it.
Okay. Oh, the ghost one.
It's like a ghost demon thing that keeps possessing everybody. And at the end of the episode, Buffy tells Spike she was in heaven.
Yeah, I'm with you now.
Mm-hmm. So they talk in that episode about the fact that particular demon that they were fighting was created by the spell they did, like as a side effect of the spell that they did, which to me implies that a demon can be conjured where a demon did not previously exist.
Yeah, it's a consequence of...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So maybe the act of transforming someone into a vampire creates a demon that inhabits them.
Yeah.
In which case, it's a very blank slate of a demon, which is why the template model works.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want to be clear, because I've seen this thrown out a couple of times. It could be both. It could be none. I absolutely understand. It's all open to individual interpretation. I just think, like, part of the fun we do is just batting that ping pong ball around. And, from my perspective, it's your 10 minutes. So, whoever I'm talking to, if you want to bat that particular ball around, I am game. But I think that, and I've said this before, I think that they openly said the lore broke a couple of times in the name of the particular story that they were trying to tell. There are shows for which the lore is gospel. Buffy and Angel are not one of them. It is a flexible sort of thing. I don't think it ever well, I'll say this, but I'm sure there are examples of this. I was going to say it never flexes to the point of breaking, but I'm sure there are examples where it breaks.
I still can't get over Angel's eyes turning yellow and Shroud of Ramon.
See, I thought we worked up a workable headcanon for you on that one.
We might have, but I remain deeply entrenched in my hatred for Shroud of Ramon.
Well, that's fine. As we said, subjective. So, Afterlife Consequence. Okay, I'm with you there.
Yeah. So I love Reunion. I mean, it's just top to bottom, front to back. It's just so good. And you and Sarah C talked about it a little bit. In terms of like the Drusilla being the one to re-sire Darla puts Angel on this path of like guilt and atonement and like this is all my fault.
Yeah.
And to me, that was entirely Wolfram and Hart's point.
Like, I agree. Yeah, I agree. So what you're saying,
Wolfram and Hart made this Angel's fault.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's built into the vampire bloodline. Mm-hmm. Is even Spike is in some way, Angel's responsibility. Mm-hmm. So
we see it with Penn, we see it with James.
Yeah, when I was sort of throwing out like, what is the plan? I get that that's why Drew was there, but Emily mentioned the purpose of the first in season 7 is to sow chaos. That's Ethan's purpose as well. He's an agent of chaos, and I actually accept that more as a motivator for a bad guy because their plans are sort of less intricate. Like, the first is sort of a big, giant, magical troll and just tries to sow discontent and infighting and all of that to sort of, bring all the super vampires out of the Hellmouth and whatever, the final apocalypse. Fine. But Wolfram and Hart's plans are so intricate. From the scroll to the number of vampires that died in order to bring Darla back, to bringing her back as human, to knowing that she would get sick, to boom, to boom, to boom, to boom. There are so many steps along the way that anytime you see a look in one of their eyes like, huh? It makes me go, wait, well, then what was the plan? When Holland looks scared for his life in this episode, it's a wonderful moment, but I'm just saying, the more I rewatch Angel, the more I kind of go, and it is greatly informed by the fact that the giant retcon is coming. It's coming. It's always on the horizon. It's out there. And I think that throws into question all of these mysterious plans, which are never completely revealed. You know, Adam eventually is like, yeah, I want to chop up all these people and sort of mix them together, and then, yeah. Okay, I get it. I get what his plan was. That reveal never occurs for Wolfram and Hart. It's just kind of like prod, poke, which is like, fine, okay, and we're leading towards some sort of general apocalypse, and the Master's ears ring in my head, these tricky things, these prophecies. If you didn't go, if you didn't come, I couldn't go, you know. But it's so intricate that the more I watch it, sorry, I'm ranting through. I apologize. I'm sorry.
Ian, I'm here to help you process these emotions. I want to help you work through.
It's been a tough month, Josh. It's been a tough month.
The Wolfram and Hearts cannot hurt you here, Ian. This is a safe place.
Yuzora, thank you for the donation. I appreciate it. The dance of capitalist superiority. Except the buttons don't work. I'll get them fixed next time, I promise.
We are the buttons.
We are the buttons. Go ahead and pick that mess up that I threw at your feet. I apologize.
I'm here for you. So Wolfram and Hart, to me, Wolfram and Hart are very interesting villains. Because you're a fan of Star Trek: Next Generation.
Yes.
You remember the episode where?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And then they had to. So the episode where Riker takes command of the old ship, and there's the tactical specialist on board who plays this crazy game with
the Picard maneuver episode.
No, it's called Peak Performance, and they're playing that game.
Yeah, isn't that the episode with the Picard maneuver?
No, that's from season 1, the battle.
Oh, okay, yeah, but I remember.
So Data at the end of the episode, Data beats.
We're all playing.
We're all doing it. Yeah. Data beats the tactical dude because he plays for a different objective. He plays for a stalemate. The tactical dude is playing to win. So that's what's happening between Angel and Wolfram and Hart this season. Angel is playing to win, and Wolfram and Hart is playing for a stalemate.
So it's chaos again, then.
It not specifically chaos. Like, they don't want chaos. If they wanted chaos, they would disengage. They want Angel in a particular mode and mindset that is to their advantage, and that is off balance, morally ambiguous, and willing to do things that he wouldn't do if he were on the path of righteousness.
Like kill the keeper of the deeper well.
Yeah. Exactly.
So Wolfram and Hart win.
This is the episode where Wolfram and Hart's plan works. This is the episode where we're back in.
This conversation doesn't necessarily bear fruit, and I want you to go where you want to go. But my frustration is then to what end is that ever made clear?
It is, but it isn't.
So no.
So in season 1, they meet Angel and realize that he's a threat.
Right.
Then they meet Cordelia and realize she's his connection to the powers that be. And then they get their hands on the scroll that has the Shanshu prophecy in it, and they understand Angel's role in an apocalypse is vital. And so they think at that point they come with the plan of we need to bring this creature down to us. And we need to do that by cutting off his connection to the power. So that's the attack in Shanshu.
Right, and it becomes the literal down to us when he descends to the home office.
It does.
In Reprise. But
there's also an interesting metaphorical down to us in this episode because he has to go down into the wine cellar.
Oh, I like it. Yeah. Nothing good ever happens in basements.
It does not.
Yeah.
So they brought Darla back in order to put Angel in the position of potentially being on their side whenever they bring their apocalypse about. And so they brought Darla back as it's a 11 episode long torture. And it's very much it's very much like Innocence in that there were any number of opportunities for Angel to have avoided this that he did not take, just like there are opportunities for Buffy to have avoided sleeping with Angel that she did not take. The metaphors for Darla throughout the season so far in Faith and Judy and what was the third one? Not Bethany. Bethany's about Angel. There's a third one I can't recall off the top of my head. And then when the powers that be figure out that their champion is being messed with because Angel misses the vision that they send to Cordelia in First Impressions, then they send Cordelia the vision of Bethany in Untouched to try to help him understand what's happening to him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you brought that one up. I like that.
Yeah, and every vision since then has been them trying to steer him away from Darla.
Right. And it's made painfully clear in this one where they give him a vision of the kid in the other direction to forcibly turn the car around, which I think pays off like your reading of why the visions have worked the way they work this entire season.
And it's a kid who's about to sacrifice himself for a meaningless demon, much like Angel's about to.
Yeah. The
kid is about Angel too. Like Bethany was about Angel, the kid is about Angel.
Yeah.
They're trying to teach him about himself, and he's missing the lesson, he's ignoring it. And finally this happens. So Wolfram and Hart are trying to separate him from the powers that be, which they tried to do in Shanshu with the attack, and here they successfully do.
Right.
He fires the team.
Okay.
In my tracking of plot lines and character arcs throughout the show, Wolfram and Hart is not aware of Jasmine at this point. Wolfram and Hart has no idea that Jasmine is
and that's
doing anything.
That's the wrinkle here is once Darla gets pregnant, you wonder, that's implied that was Jasmine's plan. I mean, it's not implied. They literally state that was Jasmine's plan to begin with. But none of that would have actually occurred if Wolfram and Hart hadn't done all of this. So was Wolfram and Hart being influenced by Jasmine?
Wolfram and Hart, they didn't send Angel to the trial. Lauren sent Angel to the trial.
Lauren's an oracle that just, yeah.
And I'm about to skip ahead for myself here. This is all fully spoiled.
My head, Josh, my head.
That's what Cordelia says. So in season 3, in the one with Cal Penn and Harold and Kumar go to Los Angeles.
Okay. Yeah.
That episode exists to demonstrate that Cordelia's visions can be hacked.
Right.
From that episode forward, in my opinion, it is impossible to trust the source of Cordelia's visions.
Yeah.
It is entirely possible that any number of Cordelia's visions were coming from Jasmine or Skip or some combination of both. And so why couldn't Jasmine affect Lauren in the same way? Because Lauren is able to detect an incoming vision in the next episode. He's able to
and in season 4 they
thanks Boris.
they literalized that his readings can be influenced by a power great enough. I mean, she's an old god, right?
She's a fallen power.
Fallen power, yeah. No, yeah.
So Jasmine is acting independently of Wolfram and Hart, and Wolfram and Hart is not aware of Jasmine at this point.
Okay.
Wolfram and Hart's just trying to work Angel over, and in this episode, it works too well. Their plan succeeds too well.
I am not disagreeing with you. Don't interpret my inability to keep up and my total exhaustion as disagreement with anything that you're saying.
It's perfectly valid, even if you were disagreeing. This is the web that I've woven. This is the conspiracy theory board that I've created for myself to help me enjoy the show, and it's fun.
Aaron, the last comment in chat says, "I'm completely exhausted. I'm gonna wish you good night." Good night, Aaron.
Good night, Aaron.
Well, is there? You sort of spent a lot of time explaining to me that, and I appreciate it. I just want to make sure. Is there anything specific that you were looking forward to throwing out, rather than trying to explain Wolfram and Hart's plan to me?
Well, so far you and I have just been ranting at each other, which I honestly enjoy. Like I come here for.
All right.
No, I mean this episode is just fantastic from top to bottom. This episode is another instance of why I find Gunn's character arc in seasons 4 and 5 about him being the muscle really frustrating, because he.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's terrible.
Like he's absurdly clever.
Yeah, I would like that the thing of it is, I think that there's it's one thing for I haven't watched it in a while. Maybe there's a reading that is how Gunn sees himself, not how the writers see him. How Gunn sees himself. Now, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that's actually the case. I think it's written like, oh, he was the muscle. And that is absolutely, like, that feels to me, like a rare instance of the writers not having seen their own show. Because he is so smart and so clever in these early seasons that to relegate him to that at that point. And I know the show changed showrunners a couple of times.
Yeah, when we get there, we're going to talk about Jeffrey Bell and why he doesn't get the hate he deserves.
There's also a. Are you saying was he the showrunner in 5?
In 4 and 5.
In 4 and 5, yeah. There's a wonderful essay about the problems there's with that arc in season 5. That's in Whedon and Race, I think. If anyone's interested in the. I will be referencing it heavily when we get to that season. But the whole idea of the way Gunn's story is sort of managed and ends in that in season 5, which is compelling and interesting, but also so bad in certain ways. Joss Whedon and Race, or Joss Whedon and Ethnicity, if you have any interest in sort of tracking why that story doesn't work.
Making the only black character on a quest for intelligence. That's
right.
Yeah,
and the perpetual outsider, and the perpetual other, and Giga.
Yeah,
we'll get there.
No, for sure, absolutely. But in this, anyway, back to Reunion. In this Reunion, apparently is a jumping off point for the rest of the show, because like literally none of us have been able to stay within Reunion.
I feel like Angel's episodes a lot of times don't have a central identity in the same way that Buffy's do. I think about Buffy, I think about very specific episodes a lot of times, and with Angel, I'm often thinking about the arc, and I remember sections of the arc that happen to be episodes, but I'm terrible. My memory's awful anyway, so putting the name of the episode with the episode itself is sometimes difficult. But Angel's arc episodes, I think, other than later in Buffy seasons, often work better. But Angel's also doing mini arcs more often, so it doesn't have as much of the faff as Buffy sometimes does. But the season 4, I can't wait to get it out of my head. Anyway, sorry.
One of my
give me one more thing, Josh. I'm sorry, I ate up most of your time, but I just don't want to be rude. I apologize.
No, no worries. I enjoy the discussion. Here's my one more thing.
All right.
One of my favorite things that Angel does very well, and in my opinion, better and more consistently than Buffy, is it makes their superpowered characters legitimately threatening. And so, they do it with their fight choreography a lot, where when like Faith or Angel or Spike or somebody punches somebody, they get thrown across the room, as opposed to in Buffy, where it's just like a little boxing match.
It's much more fisticuffs kind of thing.
But in this episode, the implication is that these two vampires by themselves could tear Los Angeles down, and like it's treated just deadly serious, and I love it. I live for it, and I even love that they collectively kick Angel's ass.
Yeah, one thing we haven't mentioned is the leap off the building. It is so it's both kind of tasty vampire melodrama cheese that I really appreciate. It's a big old drama queen kind of jump, but it's also kind of sets up what you're talking about, which is like she can do that.
Right.
She has that invulnerability to take that kind of dive and be okay.
No, it's fantastic. I don't like how Darla, when she first wakes up, is not in vamp face like literally every other vampire is when they first wake up, but that's a quibble.
Well, yeah, which we do here sometimes.
We do.
Yeah.
It's
all right, but
Julie Benz can look good.
Russell. Oh, wait, Russell, I lost you. Oh, there we go. Oh, there was just some lag when I brought you up. Russell, are you there?
I'm here.
Hello, sir.
Hey, Ian, how are you doing?
You just explained how I feel. I'm here, I think. I'm good. We're getting by. We have a good time, don't we?
Absolutely.
By the way, Russell, you are not the target of any jokes I make complaining about having to talk about the Soul Canon unless I say Russell at the end of it. I saw you responding to me complaining to Jack about having to talk about my favorite thing, the Soul Canon, and I was like, that's
it was in good fun, Ian.
All right, good.
I did want to point out before I get into the soul stuff, the relationship of Wolfram and Hart, because to me, Holland Manners is one of my favorite villains in the entire series, and he does mention, I didn't catch it until our rewatch today, that he is a head of a department, but what we don't ever see, we are fully spoiled, correct?
Yeah, head of special projects. You're the project.
Yeah. Okay, so in season 5, Angel's the CEO, and each of his teams are the head of a project. Fred's head of science and etc.
Yeah.
But we don't meet the CEO ever up until Angel gets that promotion. So we don't know who's really pulling the strings. We hear them talk about the senior partner. It just got me curious. I don't really have a direction with that.
Well,
but
that's okay.
They should have had a better plan and anticipated Angel's arrival. I mean, then again, you would lack good storytelling. But I just thought it was kind of interesting until our rewatch day when Holland goes, he is the head of the department. And so Darla, she is not the same demon. I would have to agree with Boris on that. I know this is subject to one's interpretation.
Sure.
But
well, I mean, it all is, but that's what we're here for. Let's interpret.
But Buffy, or not Buffy, Darla died in season 1, episode 7 of Buffy.
Mm-hmm.
That demon died. Game over. When she is revamped, a new demon takes over, but it's still the same Darla template that it takes over. Does that make sense? All those memories, experiences, they're still Darla.
Yeah. Well, a demon, given how influenced demon is by its template, they don't seem like much more than a hedonistic hunger anyway. The hedonism seems to attach to whatever it is the host was interested in to begin with. If you had a daddy issue, let's go eat daddy. If you were interested in being special and being seen as special and not a failure, let's go eat the village. If you had parental problems, let's prove ourselves to our parent vampire the entire time. There's not much personality to any of the vampire demons that we can tell. But then again, you get the vampires like the Master, who after a point of time are sort of unrecognizable anyway. So whether it's the original demon, her or not, it's like there's not a clear indication of the consequences of which demon she would roll anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. The other thing is, before Darla feeds, she's hanging on to what little bit of, I don't want to say morality because she is soulless at this point,
Right.
but she's hanging on to whatever Darla would have wanted prior to being vamped. She finally felt redeemed, and I believe that's why she grabbed Drusilla and was like, why? You know, until she fed, and I think it was Darla early on in season 1 when we see Angel being turned and rising from the grave. No, excuse me. It will be an epiphany. A good a warm kill will wash away the foul memory of your humanity, or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened here. But yeah, watching this episode, my opinion hasn't changed that much in terms of the identity thing.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I mean it's just when we talk about vampires with souls, and we typically talk about Angel and Spike, and just sort of they are the two. They're so contrasting in the ways that they are with and without souls. But Darla is actually a third modifier to the conversation in the way that she is as a human. When she initially comes back as a human, she behaves very much as Darla the vampire did, you know, and then the conscience kind of creeps back in again. So it's just, again, we're just batting the ball around, I think.
Yeah, I sort of headcanon that to just 400 years of memory and nothing else. That's all she knew. The memories are now a part of her behavior. I mean, if you had 400 years of living a certain way, with or without a conscience, you're going to be accustomed to continue to live that way. You
for sure.
And it's
momentum,
been brought up.
the momentum of immorality.
Yeah. And it's been brought up, and you and I have even talked about this, but it was brought up again today. If they are two separate entities, why does the soul version need to atone for things that a demon did rather than... And I think it's as simple as in the Pylea episodes, we see the demon in pure form, or at least an angel. And when it kills, it's not sadistic like Angelus in our reality would kill. It's just brutal, savage. It's just blood hungry.
It's murder. It's an animal feeding.
Yeah. Most of Angelus's behavior was incorporated from Liam. That's what the demon took over. Now, does that mean that Liam was a murderer? No.
Right.
But if you were to take away a conscience from him and give him a murderous nature, this is what he would become.
Yeah. No, I get it.
So they still have to live with the memory. When Angel gets his soul back, you know, he still lives with the memory. He sees it through his eyes. So I guess I still interpret.
It's the Manchurian Candidate Bucky perspective. You know, whether or not he was programmed, whether or not he was brainwashed, he still has the experience of the murder and the crimes himself. You know, Bucky talking to Cap. Cap, oh, what you did all those years ago, you didn't have a choice. It wasn't you. And Bucky saying, I know, but I did them. You know, that is his experience of the reality of those moments, whether or not you know, choice is not relevant to the experience to him. You know, like in some cases, like guilt is not necessarily a rational experience, but an emotional one. And so whether or not he can rationally look at those moments and say, I was not responsible for them, doesn't change the emotion of guilt and shame that those experiences generate, and that he still has to grapple with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that's it for the soul stuff. I want to go back to Holland real quick, if that's okay. I do like that scene where Angel breaks into their office through the window, and the guards are all surrounding them. They've got the.
it's a great stunt. That bop through the window,
and he makes the comment. He's like, "You misunderstand us. We don't want you dead, not yet. If we did, you would not be here." It's kind of reminiscent of Blind Date, where the security guard Phil is holding his gun, and Holland says to Lindsay, "Now, do I nod to Phil?" No. I just like it. I just wanted to point that out. It's a great scene. I love this episode. I love the trial, and I like the one after it. It is the final confrontation between Drew and Darla and Angel, right? That's the next one.
The fire bit is in the next episode.
Okay. Yeah, and I like that one. The breather episodes, I'm not a fan of.
Well, yeah. It's funny. I remember the run from here to Reprise as being 10 episodes long. It's 4, but it feels like 10 to me after we get through whatever the next one is. So, I'm just not a fan of when the group split up, whether it's the Scoobies or Team Angel.
But there is one of those where Angel tries to reconnect and Cordy shuts him down that I like. We'll get to, because I don't remember which of the 3 that it's in. So
no, it's not to say that there aren't any good moments between now and then. These writers are too good. Every single episode of both shows contains something interesting, something compelling. They're too good. But you're talking about this 2 episode run that is, along with Darla, along with Dear Boy, that is some of the most memorable stuff in the Buffyverse to what's coming up. And until we get to Reprise, it also sets up an emotional question or an emotional conundrum that I just don't think there's any catharsis for, or really any fun exploration until Reprise and Epiphany. We get to see Angel doing dark stuff, and I love seeing him smoke. I love the Buffyverse version of the goatee from Star Trek, him smoking a cigarette. That's how we know it's evil Angel. But there is a question and an emotional quandary that is created in this episode that just doesn't pay off, and is way more interesting until it does than the other explorations that go on. The Scooby, but that's just in my opinion. The Team Angel has some fun stuff. There's some good character building. It just is like they leave us hanging for a while until we get to Epiphany.
Thin Blue, is it Thin Blue Line? Is that
that's the police one.
Yeah, that does.
Thin Deadline.
Thin Deadline. Excuse me. It does set up nicely that 3rd season episode, That Old Gang of Mine, in my opinion.
Sure. It sets it up.
And the last thing I think I'm going to comment on, just something I've noticed, Darla, when she wakes up for the first time and she grabs Angel, she seems more stronger than she has ever been or ever will be after that point.
Yeah, I think it's specifically a commentary. Angel has a line earlier where he says, once she feeds, she'll be unstoppable. We've got to kill her before she feeds. But that moment where she comes out and holds him up in the air I think is intended to be a comment as to her power or whatever this... It's saying something, and I'm unclear of exactly what her expression of power in that sequence is saying. But it's so specific, and holding him high up in the air like that, and then the super jumping and the jumping out the building and so forth.
Yeah.
It's like, they're saying something with it for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what, but yeah, I had to point that out. But I think that's what I got for you on this episode.
All right,
thank you.
Jack.
Hello, Poppet.
Hi.
Hi. How are
Hey,
you?
I'm sleepy.
Mm,
I mean,
yeah.
good. I mean,
Am I awake?
that's
This-
that's been my month, buddy.
Well, no, I'm not in my underwear, so I think I'm awake.
That's
That was a weird thing to say. I'm sorry.
Um,
That's how you know I'm tired.
Yeah,
no, I
well-
say weird shit all the time. What am I talking about?
well, no, we know it's early for you, Ozzy.
It's fine. I'm not complaining. I'm here because I want to be here.
All right, good
I
deal.
like this.
The
Mhm.
the way your Skype crop is working, your pop filter is just floating in midair in front of your face. It's
Yeah, it's.
oh, there we go.
it's-
Now your mic popped in.
No one cared who I was before I put on the mask. Sorry.
I'm loving Bits by Jack. Keep going.
Please stop me.
Reunion. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not going to rant too much because I'd just be repeating what others have said. But
It's tough being
I-
the caboose.
I agree with Sarah C and Emily in that I don't believe it is a literal demon that takes over one's body when becoming a vampire. I think that Angel's explanation in season 1 of Buffy, I think it might be in the episode Angel, where it's like the demon get your body, but it doesn't get your soul. I think it's figurative, not literal. Again, just for all the reasons that other people have said, like I just don't think it's like Darla's demon is named Pazuzu, and it's existed on another plane
So
and
this
just
is-
waited for Darla to become a vampire.
And I just thought of another bit, and that is the Dark Age. The whole bit
Mhm.
about luring the demon into Angel so that the demon that's already an angel can fight it out with the other demon from the Dark Age points to the fact that it's literal.
Well,
unless-
shit.
Unless unless Giles's magical demon is just fighting Angel's bad feelings.
But how come
Sorry.
these demons so they take over a body, but then they never talk about where they were before becoming a vampire? It's
Yeah.
always about. But I guess that could be explained with Josh's explanation that the demon is created. All right, I don't know. God damn it.
Here's the thing, Boris just said victory. This is not an argument. We're not. There's no debate here. Like we're trying to figure this out together, and I'm
Why does
interested
it
in
always
everyone's. I'm
happen
not,
to me though?
I'm
This
not
always
trying to
happens
win
me.
anything.
This always happens to me. I don't know. I mean, it could be either way, but I've always read it as a figurative thing rather than a literal thing. But there's evidence either way, obviously, because
And more importantly,
now I'm doubting myself as usual.
more importantly, when it comes to enjoying the story, it doesn't really matter.
Absolutely. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. That's why, it's fun to talk about these things
These are-
with
these are-
fans, but
Yeah,
I
these are
wouldn't go
definitive
into this-
fandom discussions.
yeah, I wouldn't go into this with somebody who's new to the show because you
Right.
don't want to sully their experience.
Well, plus they would-
and ultimately it's my read, but I don't care. I really don't care because it's so
Someone
non-important.
who didn't get it would listen to the depth and the detail that we go into these conversations and maybe put their hands up and back out of the room.
yeah,
slowly.
I'm good, fam.
I
I'll see you
wouldn't
later.
start a new fandom with these discussions for sure.
I'm gonna go and watch Get Smart or something, and you
Yeah,
guys can
yeah.
enjoy your little vampire show. That's
Your little
fine.
vamp show.
Yeah. I also think that our dear friend Mr. Boris kind of had a point with the lawyers in the scene at the end. They were, and I was on the other side of the fence until he said something for the most part. But look, they were Wolfram and Hart lawyers, and no one seemed confused when Darla and Drew walked in. They all just seemed scared. And no one was like, oh my God, what the hell is wrong with their faces? So my point is, I think they were aware of who they were.
Okay.
not that necessarily says that they deserve to die, because I'm sure Wolfram and Hart just had lackeys who did the accounts or something, you know. But I don't know. That was just an interesting point.
And the funny part is, like, and this is going to happen when we get into talking about Ben, and it has happened before, but I'm not. The conversations are coming to me. The degree to which we can microanalyze the morality of murdering someone.
Oh yeah,
it gets pretty hilarious.
Well, I mean,
that bad.
It's
it reminds
eye
me of,
for
like,
an eye, and that's not. That doesn't
Lonnie
fly,
Lonnie
you know?
told me, like, the one thing in stories she really doesn't like is when a kid dies. And early on, I was like, "Why don't we watch It?" I think only one kid dies in the beginning, and about halfway through, I'm like, "Oh God." Well, how do you feel about bullies? They're not really kids, right? They're
like
mean
Macaulay
kids. It's different.
Culkin in the Good Son. Is it the Good Son where he plays the evil kid?
Yeah,
like he was kind of an awful kid, and he probably should have died.
But
I
again,
don't know.
we're talking about murder. Like, we get to a point where the conversation, like, it's a fun fandom conversation to have. But I think when it comes down to it, like, the interesting thing about is that fallacy in the trolley problem.
Yeah,
is the trolley is on rails,
right?
And without that, there's no other justification, adequate justification for taking a human life.
Right. And wasn't it Gandhi who said, an eye for an eye only makes the world blind, or something like that?
Sure.
So
yeah.
I don't know. But moving on, I love Drusilla throughout this whole episode. She's just incredible. Every line is amazing. And I don't know if I could pick a favorite moment, but I really love the part where she's talking to a dead Darla, and Lindsay says she can hear you, and she looks at him, and she is like, she's dead.
She's dead.
It's like, it's not often that Drew gets to be snarky and she gets to look at someone as if they are the crazy one. Like, I love that. That's so good. And I like how Angel's like, she's a classicist, and Cordy's like, she's a loony. That was funny. I said that during the rewatch. Don't need to go into that. Sorry, I've just got a lot of notes here.
You're all good, bud. We are used to notes. We're a notesy group.
Right. Let's just go straight to the scene. The scene with the lawyers there's so much going on in that scene. It's so good, but it's so genuinely, like, scary and suspenseful, and it's like genuine horror to me. And I think the episode does those things so well. But I really love how like Drew and Darla just walking through the room, toying with them like predators. They're having the time of their lives, and I honestly think Darla is the scariest vampire in the whole Buffyverse. Not the Master, not Angelus. It's Darla. There's something so, like, horrifying about the performance, and even her makeup looks scary. I think so freaking good.
She might have my favorite vamp face. I love how there is a variety in the vamp face. It's like Klingons, and everyone having different brow ridges, but the variety of design in the vamp face is interesting, and hers is almost kind of elegant in a way that where the other ones are sort of harsh and stern, and she looks more what it reminded me of in season 2 when she kills Kendra was when she's sort of doing this, and they're both weaving together. It's a snake charmer, and she looks
very serpentine.
Looks very serpentine. Yeah, she has a very serpent-like design. So I love it. I love it too.
Yeah. And Christian Kane. Oh, he's so good in that scene. He's
that little bit's
phenomenal.
So great.
I also love how you can tell how he's feeling even before Darla approaches him, in the way that he calmly just explains that the room was originally a bomb shelter. You can tell from the get-go that he's chill. Like he's just like, whatever.
He smirks when Angel bars the door.
Right. Yeah. And like, it's just it's incredible. Like, my read initially was that he knows he can't run. He knows he can't fight. His fate is out of his hands at this point, so he just accepts it, whatever happens. But I also agree that it's probably got something to do with him being into Darla, and he's probably like, you know what, I don't mind if Darla buys me because that's kind of hot. I don't know. And what you said too, I'm blanking. About him like hating his life or something like that. I think.
Well, there's a big connecting theme for Wes, where Wes points out that Angel's cut off. Death doesn't bother him because there's nothing in life he wants. It's his connections that it's our desires that make us human, and his connections that sort of ground him. And I think that with Angel sort of cutting off all of his connections and Lindsay sort of getting everything he ever wanted, it's sort of opposite ends of the same problem, which is like, if you have everything, then nothing means anything. You know, if you have no desires anymore because you have gotten everything, then what is your daily call to living? You know, and Angel sort of gets there in the way of not wanting to have any desires, wanting to cut everything off and solo himself, which he does here as well.
Right. So, yeah, and so I think it's sort of all of those things rolled into one, and so it's just like, you know what, cool, whatever happens. And I love the line, I care, I guess I just don't mind.
That's very much.
That's probably my favorite line in the entire like episode. It's just so good, the delivery. And then when Angel closes the door, I just can't seem to care, or something like that. Yet I just can't seem to care, or something like that. And then Drusilla's like, Daddy? It's just, dude, it's just, there's so much going on in that scene that we could be here for another hour and only scratch
do I need to put some Dominic Toretto in this episode guide? It's all about family.
If you don't, I'm going to be very disappointed. like I will take over the edit just to put that in.
Fast and the Furious Angel.
I mean, it's current, man. It's current meme. Well, that's kind of an old meme at this point, but it wasn't that long ago. But and then of course when Angel fires the crew, and then in the next episode he fires Darla and Drew. Sorry, I had to say that.
I see what you did there.
He fires them. I'm sorry. Okay, that's me done. Thank you. Cheers.
Going out on a high, I see. Perfect.
Of course.
All right, my friends. Did I miss anyone? I don't think so. All right. We're doing Triangle in 2 weeks. I'm sorry we missed. So these three record every other weekend. So when we miss one, it's gonna be a 2-week delay. So Triangle in 2 weeks, and I think that's it. It's always a joy. Everyone in the YouTube stream, thank you for hanging out. I'm not gonna make any promises about the video. Ian will get his groove back. We just don't know how yet, but it always does happen eventually. So I'll have a piece of content up for you at some point. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you, Ian.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.